Hello, this is TelecomTV. We are in Silicon Valley in California in the United States, and we are at the 7th iteration of the ETSI NFV ISG. Quite a mouthful. Basically, it's about standardization and network functions virtualization, and I'm talking with Jan Ellsberger, who is the Director of Technology Strategies at Ericsson. Jan, thanks for talking to us. It's obvious from the hype and the great interest and the amount of work that's being done on NFV that it is of great potential importance to the global comms industry. What role has ETSI played in this sudden emergence and control and shaping of NFV?
Yeah, thank you. It's great to be here, by the way, and I think you cannot overestimate the importance of what the ETSI NFV initiative have done for the industry. I mean, in a very short time, we have managed to create momentum in the industry. We have published the requirements, architecture framework, and terminology that the whole industry is now using, and that's a great achievement in such a short time. We shouldn't forget also the very great success support that we have received from the ETSI Secretariat. I mean, without their professional people, we would not have been where we are today. Then looking forward, I think now when we are moving from, shall I say, defining the NFV concept as such and moving into real implementations and real deployments, of course the nature of the work in ETSI NFV will change. The focus will from now on be much more on securing interoperability over the reference points and the interfaces that we have in the architecture, and that will of course change the nature of the work that we're doing here. So the focus will be much more on technical details and securing interoperability, much more detailed specification work, both within ETSI NFV itself, but also trying to influence work done outside ETSI NFV in open source initiatives and traditional standards bodies.
You've said, Jan, that the emergence of NFV has been really quite sudden by the general history and the standards of the telecommunications industry over the years. It has indeed, over 2 years, this technology, which has massive potential, has appeared almost from nowhere to reach where it is now. Originally, first meeting of the group, 6 guys in a room somewhere, and now an enormous number of delegates here, very interesting. A lot of work going on. As we move beyond that theory into phase 2, the proof of concept, which of course is necessary prior to wide-scale trialing and eventual commercial deployment, can you give us some examples of the proofs of concept that Ericsson and you have been involved with and what they mean and why they're important?
Yeah, I think we are doing a lot of different proof of concepts and trials with our customers. As you know, in ETSI NFV we have this proof of concept program, and there we are engaged in automated network orchestration with Deutsche Telekom, and we are doing service acceleration POC with AT&T. Apart from that, I mean, we have also done quite a lot of work with Telstra on service chaining SDN, and we also, of course, have the launch of our virtual EPC portfolio.
Jan, it's frequently emphasized that NFV is going to have to be open if it's going to be successful globally. And we know the history of the telecommunications industry, IT industry, has been the opposite of that. There's been a lot of fine words spoken about openness, but the reality has been often the emergence of de facto standards and lock-in. How is this going to be avoided this time round?
Yeah, I think it's a very good question, and I think that if you look at the IT industry, I agree with you that there is maybe some tradition or some larger existence of proprietary solutions. I don't agree with it that we have that in the telecoms industry, and especially not when we look at the wireless side. I mean, Ericsson, we have always been a company driving open standards in the industry in order to secure a healthy ecosystem. I mean, we can take 2G, 3G, 4G that we have developed in 3GPP, which is really a truly global ecosystem. And if those technologies would have been proprietary, we would not have seen such a global deployment of those technologies. And NFV is pretty much about separation of software and hardware. And what we need to secure is, of course, that we have the right set of specifications, and open source components in place so that we guarantee this openness. And that is exactly what ETSI NFV is about.
Okay, good. I take your point about 3PP, etc. They obviously are very open standards, but you must admit it is in mobility, which is a pretty new technology even today, and it's the exception to the rule in many cases.
But be an exception of the rule, but still, I mean, it's a global ecosystem and it's open.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
We all know about the potential benefits of NFV, obviously, but there are barriers to its adoption, and they're very often not mentioned overly. What are they, and how do you think they can be overcome?
Yeah, I wouldn't say, I mean, NFV is happening or starting to happening right now, so I mean, barrier is maybe a too strong word. I think, I don't think that there are real any showstoppers, but there is of course a number of larger and smaller issues that we have to resolve. One is orchestration across different domains and taking the legacy systems, legacy management systems into account.
Yeah.
That is quite a lot of work still to be done there, and I think Ericsson is very well positioned to solve that. Security is another one, where there is still a lot of work to be done in for instance, the OpenStack area. If we look at more from an industry point of view, since we are now transitioning into a more software-based type of business, we need to work much more with open source and how that relates to traditional standardization that we have done in telecom for the past 25 years. And what we need to do is to find a really good model and a process how we combine those two, so that where we still guarantee that the network operators are part of the process and can influence the direction and set the requirements. And I think this is also one challenge that we are working on.
Okay, thank you. And a last question to you, which is to bring the whole thing round to ETSI again and the NFV ISG. What's going to happen at the end of this meeting? We are in this transitional phase between phase 1 and phase 2. What's next for NFV, and will ETSI remain as intimately involved in its oversight and standardization as it is now, or do you think as time comes it's going to be taking a rather more of an overview of the whole thing as the manufacturers and vendors get the bit between the teeth and start to produce things?
Yeah, no, I think at the end of this meeting we expect that we will have a stable set of release 1 or phase 1 documents that will soon be published. And we have also started to do some discussions around what should be the content of phase 2. And as I said, we usually underestimate the amount of work that we need to do in the industry. It's fairly complex systems that we are dealing with, and looking at the amount of work that we need to do to secure interoperability for NFV, there will still be a lot of things that has to happen here in ETSI NFV. So it's not yet time to step back and start to be an oversight committee. There will be a lot of momentum and a lot of technical discussions going on here for a couple of more years to come.
Excellent. Jan Elsberger, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.